All right. All right. I think I am live. It says I am live. I don't. Yeah, I don't know what we're telling. I think I am definitely live. Hello. Yeah. All right. I'm waving to all the people. All right. Just waiting on Mel to join. Okay. 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 All right. Yeah, let's see here. Oh, I think I have to invite. I am inviting. I just invited Mel to join. Pardon me, I'm not too sure how this live works. I'm sort of new on the live. Oh,
Oh,
hey,
it works.
right? I'm like just apologizing to everybody because this is my first time going live. I'm not too hip with the live stuff, Mel.
No, I've never done this before. I feel like I just texted you and I said I don't know how to get on, so I hope you know how.
I know that's awesome. That's awesome. No, I figured it out. I figured it out, Mel. So we are good. We are good. Hey, so how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Just another Sunday in life.
And for the ales and assets.
Oh, dude, so I don't have any beer, so I had to pour myself a glass of wine.
Well, salute, Mel. Salute. All right. All right. Well, it's 2 o'clock. So what do you say we get this show on the road?
I am ready. I'm
All
ready.
right. So, um, I know that Mel and I co-host an Ales and Assets meetup. It's all about real estate investing in the San Diego area, and we enjoy talking to other like-minded individuals and stuff. But we are sort of coming on and wanting to share the wealth of knowledge that we've acquired our with our fellow people or our fellow followers. So um, I thought this would be a good way to do it. Having Mel on, she is the short-term rental queen of Arkansas, and
We'll go with that. I like that title. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. And so, anyways, let's dive into this. So Mel, when did you fall in love with real estate?
So not too long ago. It was June or July of last year. Um, in I mean, my dog is sorry, my dog is panicking. Um, June or July of last year, kind of during COVID still, I think when a lot of other people were looking for maybe other things to do. Um, but yeah, I just started with podcasts, started getting into some books. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which I think is kind of where a lot of people start, and it changes their mindset a little bit. Um, and it just took off from there completely. And so yeah, started in June or July, and then I ended up buying my first property in Arkansas in December. So it was pretty quick, I think. Um, but yeah, I mean, totally possible for you to go that quickly too.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah, I started. It's funny that you mentioned Rich Dad Poor Dad. I pimped that book out as to many people as I possibly can.
Mm.
Like I bought two books for my kids, like so they could read it, and that's actually what started it off for me too. Just like you with the COVID situation, like, dude, I read that during COVID, and I'm just like, boom, let's go.
And it's not even like some crazy, like out of this world concepts. Like it's really straightforward, but it's like, what are we doing, in a 9 to 5 for 60 years of our life? So,
No joke.
wow.
No,
Yeah.
no joke. So I know that with so many strategies to like real estate investing, like exit strategies and all that other good stuff, like what made you choose like the short-term rental route?
Um, For me, so initially I was just going to get started with a long term, maybe do a BRRRR. Um, but yeah, I started hearing more about short term rentals and how the cash flow can be exponentially higher, and all that jazz. And so for me, for my goals, I don't have a huge, nest egg of savings sitting around. So I was like, for my goals, short term and long term cash flow is what I need right now. And so that's why I decided to start going that route, um, just because of the potential I mean, actually, you could 2x or 3x, maybe even 4x what you would get as a long term if you run it properly and you pick the right market. So definitely can be lucrative.
Yeah, right.
Run well, yeah.
Yeah. One of, I'm going to say this name, and Jame Lee. I'm curious to play the Quadrant board game. She says, "Yeah, I haven't played it yet, but I know that a lot of people have, and it looks like a totally fun game to play." So that
That's
might
in his
be.
book.
Yeah, it is in his book. Yeah, and
But
I haven't even gotten the game yet, but I see people doing it and it looks so interesting and fun. So maybe we should do that, Mel, like at one of our
do
meetups.
that.
Just have,
Meet up.
like the quadrant board game going and stuff
Yeah,
like that. That'd be
I'm
awesome.
I'm down.
So it's funny. I was listening to what you were saying, and you said sort of like market area and stuff like that. But coming back to that, like I know choosing a market can be difficult, like a difficult thing to do because I know I have a problem with it myself. Even with virtual wholesaling, like it took me so long to decide on a market. How did you decide on your market, and what were like some of the key factors that you looked for?
Um, so yeah, I think it's really hard to choose a market because I mean there's successful investors in every single market, I think. Um, and obviously like among investors when you start to get into Facebook groups or Instagram or anything like that, there's like trendy markets that people tend to flock to. Um, but for me, I started looking in Florida first, like around PCB, because that's like the pinnacle of short-term rentals, and it's like the tried and true vacation market for everyone that lives in the Southeast. But as I started looking more, a lot of the properties honestly weren't in my budget. Um, and I was looking at condos a little bit, but the loan that I wanted to use, which was 10% down, you can't use on condos for the most part. Um, and so then I don't remember how I landed on Northwest Arkansas, which is where I ended up buying my property. Um, but I probably just zoomed out and stared at a map and was like, oh, I have family in Northwest Arkansas. Like, let me check that out. Um, and so, yeah, looked into it a little bit. It's a huge mountain biking destination. I mean, there has to be a draw. Obviously, there has to be some sort of draw for people to want to go there. So for where I'm at, it's a huge mountain biking destination. It's 10 minutes north of Bentonville, which is a nice little regional kind of destination spot for families that live in the South. The University of Arkansas is nearby in Fayetteville. Um, so it has like a variety of draws for your average family that lives in the South that can just take a 2 or 3 or 4 hour drive, get there easily, spend a few days, and go back home, which is also what I liked about it. It's a regional destination, so it's not going to break the bank to go. So if we go into another recession, it's still super accessible for people
You
to get.
you definitely hit on a few other topics that I want to bring up, but like I want to come to this question next. You definitely don't live in Arkansas,
No,
right?
not at all.
So what hurdles or obstacles did you have to overcome when setting up your Airbnb out of state?
Um, I mean, I think you've just got to wing it at some point. You can do as much reading and watching videos and talking to other people. Um, but I, I mean, I bought it sight unseen. The realtor I worked with, I found him on Bigger Pockets on the forums, which is, if you're not already on the forums, it's a really good resource to connect with people. Um, but yeah, met him there. We talked a little bit, and he just started going out some houses and sending me super detailed videos. Um, when he did walkthroughs. So ended up putting an offer on a property, got it, closed, did it all from San Diego. And then I just started, reaching out to housekeepers. Since I have family there, I was able to connect with my cousin's friend. So he's my handyman, which is if you have family or friends, or if you have some sort of competitive advantage in another market, that can really give you a leg up. So that's what I have there. And then, yeah, housekeeper, I found her in a Facebook group and she had great reviews. So I was like, okay, we'll go with that, see how it goes. And it's worked out really well. So it's not like rocket science, but I think um, using the resources that are free and available, like going onto the Bigger Pockets forums, um, if you have a competitive advantage like family, using Google and just looking at Google reviews. Like it's you can find plenty of people that that can do the job for you.
Yeah, you mentioned a couple of team members that you looked at, like housekeeper, handyman. Like I know it's a known fact that a team can make it or break it for you, especially your business wise. So I know, what is the one position or team member you would recommend hiring first for out of state short term rentals? And would it be different if it was in your own backyard?
Oh. I mean, okay, I think the possibly the most important person, maybe even more than yourself in your short-term rental business, has to be your housekeeper. Because if you don't have a good housekeeper and that doesn't, pick up the hairs on the carpet or some other nastiness, um, you're going to see that in your reviews. You're going to hear it from your guests. And then when don't get your 5-star reviews, then all of a sudden, it's Airbnb can kick you off the platform if you have less than like a 4.2 average, which is wild. So I think your housekeeper is absolutely the number one person that you have to get right. And again, it's not impossible to find that person. Facebook groups, reach out to other hosts and see who they use, Google. Um, but yeah, I think it has to be your housekeeper.
Dude, and you said something about ratings. So how, like, I know, like, when I think we all like maybe got onto an Airbnb before, but how important are ratings and reviews to an Airbnb host, like some to your business?
I mean, I think that's like the whole thing. You're kind of at the mercy of your guests. Um, but I mean, even like think about like if you're booking an Airbnb just for yourself and you're scrolling, you see 5-star, 4.9, 4.95, 4.92, and all of a sudden you hit like a 4.7, you're like, there's probably more that are, have a better rating. So even though 4.7 is not bad, like in a normal world, like in the world of Airbnb, a 4.7 and 4.6 all of a sudden is like you're teetering down the hill because there's people that have 4.9s and 4.95s. So that's like the biggest part, and you have to also put in the work to get those reviews, because sometimes people, for every guest, it's not just automatically they're going to leave and give you a review. You have to message them and be like, hey, hope you enjoyed your stay. Can you please leave me a review? Blah, 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 blah. So you kind of have to work for those a little bit with some guests, but I think that's like the name of the game.
Dude, I am the worst at reviews. Now that I
Yeah.
know how important they are, I will start leaving them.
Yes, if you ever stayed in Airbnb, you have to leave a review.
I hate leaving reviews. I hate typing that. I'm like, no, it was a great place. I don't want to type it, but
No,
now.
yeah, I don't usually ever leave reviews, but for Airbnb, I will, because I know how important it is for hosts to get those.
Okay, good. So now I will leave reviews for the Airbnb host from here on out for sure. All right. So what type of software or tools would you recommend somebody starting off looking at and getting familiar with if they were ever thinking about going to run a short-term rental business?
So I personally didn't use a ton of software, just being that I have one property. I think that definitely changes when you start to have two, three, four, five, however many. Um, the only thing I used, which I wouldn't even really call this software, but on Hostfully, you can create a digital guidebook that you can just message to your guests, and you can have, recommendations for things to do or see for restaurants, coffee shops. If you want to put in like the nearest hospital in case there's like an emergency they need to get to, which did happen for one of my guests. So I do think that's helpful to put in there. Or like checkout information and stuff like that. So that's kind of the only thing that I use, but I know other hosts, um, I don't know or remember what the software is called, but you can automate messaging. So when you get a booking, you don't have to sit there and actually message the guest back. It'll just automatically send a little welcome message. You can automate messaging with your housekeeper. So every time you get a booking, it just automatically sends, a calendar, reminder or a message to your housekeeper that says so and so is checking in on this day or checking out this day. So there's definitely ways to automate that I would definitely do if you have multiple, or if you even want to do it with one property. Um, so software, I don't use a ton, but tools. and things that you can buy for your property if you're managing out of state. Definitely get a smart lock, like on the door. Um, Super easy so you can just create a new code for each guest. So you just message them the code, they can get in easy peasy. You can remotely unlock and lock the door if you need to for whatever reason. So definitely get a smart lock. Get like Ring cameras, just in case there's ever some emergency that you need to have footage for. Get a smart thermostat that you can control remotely, because no one wants to have a guest leaving the heat on 75 and then all of a sudden they're gone and you have no way to turn it down and your bill ends up being $400. I think those are the only ones that I use.
Here's a question from Berminator. What kind of things do you see hosts do that negatively impacts a guest stay?
Oh, that's a good question. That negatively impact guest stay. I think maybe even before they even check in, I think if your listing description is not accurate, or if you're trying to like fluff up your description, or make it better than it actually is, you don't want to like inflate their expectations and then they get there and they're like, oh, wait, you didn't really have this, or this wasn't really there, or this isn't as close as you said it was. So I think make your listing description sound enticing and sound nice, but don't fluff it up. Be really straightforward with what you can offer. And if there is anything like weird, or not weird, but just anything that's maybe like a little out of the ordinary, like put that in your description. Like at my place, like when the heater kicks on, it like rumbles a little bit. And so I put that in like my check-in message. Like, oh, by the way, like if the heater turns on, like it'll do a little rumble, just so they're aware. So when they get there, they're not like, oh my God, what's that noise? And then they're messaging me like, oh, your heater's broken. So I think just being really upfront with what you're offering. Make it sound good, but don't fluff it up.
Don't over exaggerate.
Don't over exaggerate to where your guest expectations will be up here, but then they get there and it's down here, and then they're disappointed, and then maybe you get a bad rating. So I think your description and what you include in your Airbnb or your Vrbo listing is important.
It's almost like a fine line, right? You don't want to go too high, but you also don't want to go too low where you're setting their expectations to be like, oh, is this place even going to be worth staying?
Yeah, don't make it sound like a garbage can, but yeah, don't make it like it's the Taj Mahal and they get there and they're like, oh, okay.
That's good. That's good. I didn't realize that all this went into like the short-term rental game. You know what I mean?
It's the game.
Yes. So how did you learn about managing your short-term rental from like 1,000 miles away? Did you just use Google, or like were you like and podcast, or did you like reach out to somebody and get some mentoring or something?
So I read, I'd been hearing about it like on people's, Instagram accounts and whatnot, and I did some reading, but I also read the book called Short-Term Rental, Long-Term Wealth by Avery Carl. She published it through Bigger Pockets. So if you haven't read that, I would recommend reading it. She does a really good walkthrough of just about everything you would need to know. I think from picking a market to managing it remotely to, managing guests and things like that. So I would definitely recommend reading.
Awesome. Any other books you recommend that would help out, just since we're on the book kick?
For short-term rentals, that's all that I know of, I think. There's plenty of podcasts that cover the topic. So, definitely listen to those. But for short-term rentals, I think that's all.
Dude, so like we all talk about, oh man, short-term rental regulations are coming in. Every city's like sort of adopting their own like kind of regulations now, and you hear about like Vegas starting a lottery system where if you're like one of the selected few, great. If you're not, you're asked out, right? How
Isn't that
do you?
In San Diego, they have a lottery?
They do.
I think so, yeah. Or they're starting it. I think it's going to be a lottery. Yeah.
Okay, so here we go again. Like, right? So, like, how do you sort of prep yourself? Like, what kind of like how would you deal with something like that? Getting yourself prepared and for that kind of shit.
Okay, I should have mentioned this, I guess, when picking a market. I think one of the very first things you need to do when you're picking a market is double check that short-term rentals are even allowed, um, or that they don't have really crazy regulations that make it impossible to successfully run one in that market. So I think, yeah, if you're like, okay, this market looks good, literally the next thing you need to do is go to Google and type in, San Diego short-term rental regulations and find some documentation from the city website or the county website or whatever, that breaks out what you can and cannot do. So that is really important. And then something that I've talked about recently in my Instagram posts, is having a backup strategy. So just in case, like I did, so where I bought in Arkansas, when I bought, there was not a single short-term rental regulation. But now they're starting to talk about, we can do this, this, and this to regulate them. So things can always come up and things can happen. So you don't ever want to be in the spot where your property only works as a short-term rental, unless you're in like a PCB where that is like their entire economy. So I think you have to be able to pivot to another strategy, at least like a long-term rental. Like, does it work as a long-term rental?
It's funny. I write like when I look at properties and I'm starting to like do comps and stuff. Like I write everything out as long-term rental. Like that's my first
Yeah.
go. If it works as a long-term rental, then I can decide on what to do later. But and James Lee, I didn't know Joshua Tree National Park had the lottery system in place either.
Oh,
And that's what she says. I think so. Also JTNP, and that's funny because if that is the case, like I trip out on how many people are still out there trying to pick up properties and turn them into Airbnbs. Like, I knew it'd be just a matter of moment that Joshua Tree would be like, listen, man, this is crazy because people actually live out there to get away from things, but you know.
spot market.
The market, yeah, that market out there turned into something hot. I never knew why. I've lived in California my whole life. I just never saw what the attraction was to Joshua Tree, like being out there.
I don't think I've ever been.
Oh, they're being more limited with permits. If you don't have your permits right now, soon they might deny it. Got it. Got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I cannot scroll for some reason. I'm a boomer. Um, you said, do you guys use multiple booking platforms? If so, how do you automate sync? Yeah, so I'm not really, so I've kind of transitioned to more of a midterm rental, so that's why I'm talking in the past tense. But I use Airbnb and Vrbo or VRBO. But yeah, they sync. So you can go into either one of the platforms and sync it with the other platform. So when you get a booking on Airbnb, it blocks off the dates on your Vrbo calendar.
Oh, Jovelyn. Okay, Jovelyn. Okay, cool. Jovelyn. Okay, cool. I don't even know why I pronounced your name right. I'm sorry. But yeah, dude, so that's pretty awesome. Okay, so here's the other question I have. Um, I did that one. You did that one. Yeah. Okay. So I know like a lot of people have the misconception that real estate investing is like for people that have money, right? Like, oh, you got to have money to get into real estate investing. Do you find that to be the truth? Because like, no, I've done this whole, like, I've been doing this, been trying to be more content creating type of thing.
Yeah.
And I've talked a lot about that where I don't think you like I want to put that myth to bed where you don't need a lot of money to start investing in real estate.
Yeah.
So what do you tell people when you get that question?
It's funny to see like when like bigger names in the real estate investing world like post on Instagram how they got started. Like half the comments are from people that are like, oh, it's got to be from daddy's money or this or that, you run the lottery. And it's not, I mean, obviously it's 10 times easier if you already have, a huge nest egg of savings or high income earner or whatever. But I like personally, it was just savings, from my job and since I was little, from, birthday money, like all this shit that just came together. So no, you don't have to. I mean, I feel like most people that get into real estate investing do not have this giant bag of savings or a high income job. And there's so many different creative ways to get into it too. I mean, even just like down payments, like so many people think like, oh, you can only do 20% down. There's 15% down. I use 10% down. If you house hack, you can do as low as 3.5% down. Yeah, like being a house hacking. There's just so many different ways to get in. And even I see so many people too that are, someone's like, oh, I bought this house for $150,000, and half the comments are like, what do you mean? Where did you find this house? That's $150,000. Like, especially when you live, in California, that's unheard of. So yeah, like you don't have to invest where you live. You don't have to invest within 5 hours of where you live. Like invest out of state where it's 10 times cheaper, or more affordable, and just start there. I think it's
Yeah. Dude, totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on that. And I try to tell people, I'm like, I know we live in a freaking in a city that's expensive as all hell, right? Like, and I got lucky. I used my savings up and I bought this place right in San Diego, but that's it. Like I have to wait a little bit now for some place in San Diego, but that doesn't mean that I can't go out to like Albuquerque or Memphis or even Detroit and just pick up properties out there and use it for cash flow, because you're in a couple different market areas, right? You're either in a cash flowing market or you're in an appreciation market.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice if you can find both, but mostly it's one or the other is what I'm seeing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they always say invest where it makes sense. So if you're just trying to like supplement your income, yeah, look out of state for sure, because there's entry points everywhere, like 75, even $50,000 houses. Like I think Berminator was just like his first duplex was 51,750.
Yeah.
Lucky bastard,
I know.
Berminator.
Yeah, I mean, and I've talked to you about it. Like I've been looking in Mississippi a little bit because I went to college there. But like I talked to a realtor a little bit, and he's getting wholesale deals from people. And there was one the other day, or several, that were under 30,000 that have renters that are paying $900 a month. And that's already, if you're just looking at the 1% rule, that's like triple what it should be.
Right.
So there's a million different markets that you can get into that are much more affordable.
You mentioned something, and I haven't mentioned it on any of my stuff yet. The 1% rule. I know that you did. You mentioned it on one of your posts because I commented on it and stuff. But like, just for everybody on here, like the three people that are on here right now in our life, can you tell them what the 1% rule is? Like, what is the 1% rule? Like, I never understood that when I started out, but I know now. But for everybody else,
yeah, the 1% rule is just like a general gauge that you can use. If it's, to determine like if it's a good deal. So it should be able to rent for 1% of what you bought it for. So if you buy a house for 200,000, the 1% rule would be you should be able to rent it for at least 2,000. But I wouldn't use that as like, oh, it doesn't hit the 1% rule. Like I'm just going to skip over this. Like continue like doing your analysis. But I mean, well, I don't know if it's a good example, because when I bought mine, like it didn't hit the 1% rule, but interest rates were so low that it didn't need to hit the 1% to work. But I think, yeah, especially now with rates that are a little bit higher, it's probably a little bit harder to hit the 1% rule. But again, like it does not have to hit 1%. Just a really general, quick and easy way to see if it could be remotely workable.
hell, it was so funny because that when I first started getting into real estate, like listening to Bigger Pockets, they like back then they really were pushing the 1% rule because I think of the market that we were in. But dude, when you're in California, fucking 1% rule doesn't do dick all. Like Jesus criminy. I'm sitting there running my numbers and I'm like, this is never gonna hit the 1% rule. I'm like negative percent rule right now.
I know, yeah, you buy a house for a very modest hole in the wall house for $600,000 and you're probably gonna rent it for maybe $2,000.
Oh, right. Never gonna hit the 1% rule.
No, but that's like what you said though, how like you have to your market is either going to be 99% of the time it's going to be appreciation or cash flow.
Yep.
And I mean, in California, it's going to be appreciation 99% of the time. So you just have to, it's what your goals are.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So yeah, it's good to know that. It's good to know. So what would you tell what would you tell young people because I always try to put information out to like 18-year-olds because I feel like if you're an adult and you're looking at my stuff, then you're a little further along than an 18-year-old would be. So you probably have some sort of savings or some sort of 401k or IRA or something set up where an 18-year-old just like getting out of high school and stuff like that. So I'm always like trying to relate it to these kids because I really think the younger you are, you should start like getting into
Mm-hmm.
this game. Like
I,
this.
yeah, I wish. I mean, even like, I mean, I still consider myself young, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, if I knew about this, yeah, coming out of high school, even in college, like this was not on my mind at all. Um, I think it'd be a game changer. But I think for people like coming out of high school, like what you can do, um, either one, I mean, try to get, it doesn't even have to be like an official job, but try to like shadow and provide some sort of value to someone, to an investor or a flipper, or even just, I mean, a real estate agency, just so you can kind of like understand or better start to understand how the market works and whatnot. Um, or just start out with a regular, minimum wage job maybe, and try to save up so you can hit a 3.5% down payment on a house hack. Either maybe when you're in college, I know a lot of people have done that, in college, buy a property if you're in an affordable market, and house hack with roommates or your friends. Or when you graduate, use the money you've saved up to buy a house to house hack.
I always think nowadays, like I think a little bit differently because back in the day there was no such thing as a remote job, right?
Mhm.
There was no remote work, and COVID sort of changed all of that, right? But now with remote work, I tell anybody who's got a remote job, like hell with this, man. Be moving to a market that interests you every year. Just pick up another house every year as your primary, using an FHA or using a VA or whatever you have at your disposal. But like I would be moving every year to a different market area, and then all of a sudden within 5 years you've got five different properties, and hopefully they're in places that you like, you know?
The biggest life hack of all time. Like if you can secure a remote job, which it seems like there's kind of an abundance of them now. Um, yeah, like you said, just yeah, you can use it every year, right? An FHA loan. Yeah,
Yeah, you can use it every year, but especially because you're moving out of the market, so they'll go ahead. You're not in the same area, so you're able to go ahead and use it because it's just another primary, and you're relocating for your job.
your job. Yeah,
Yeah,
that is the biggest. Yeah, that's like the easiest. Not easiest. I mean, it is easy, but the best way, I think, to quickly grow a portfolio.
yeah, it is. It is. It's over 100. It's over 100 miles for sure. That's one of my like that was one of my problems. I got a little. I just love San Diego so much because my plan in life is to get to Baja. I want to retire in Baja. So I feel like no, you're not wrong. It is 100 miles or more. But I feel like for me, if I can see it, I can touch it. Almost like it just gets me closer to that end game. So I have a hard time leaving San Diego just because I'm like I'm almost there. Damn it, I'm gonna work on this.
So close, yeah.
But I would swear if I had a remote job though, I'd be like in Oregon picking up a property there, going to Washington, going to like, all of like the Pacific Northwest because I sort of dig that stuff and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just
One,
picking one up at a time.
100%. Are people commenting? I'm like, I don't know if I'm.
Yeah, there are comments on the screen. Mel froze. Mel? Mel. Uh, Is Mel frozen or is it me? Is anybody can anybody tell me if it's me or Mel? I think I need to. Oh, Mel just kicked herself out. Let me get her back on. Let me get her back on. Inviting. Okay. Let me see. Oh, hey. Okay.
Yikes.
Oh, no. Okay, cool. I'm like, am I messing up? Is it me?
No,
Is
I'm
it...
sitting here. I, for some reason, cannot scroll in the messages. So I was trying to scroll and I just completely swiped out of it. Couldn't get
Nice, nice. So, okay, good. I know. Okay, at least I know Instagram
back.
Live. Okay, cool. Okay. So anyway, so now since we're back into the swing of things here, so what like is there any other key things that you would tell anybody about short-term rentals? Like anything that you're like, Lance, you haven't hit on this that I think is very important.
Um, I mean, I think maybe two things. I think one, don't get swept up in like the trends of like what everybody else, like what every other investor is doing. Because especially like when you're on Instagram, it's so easy to see like trends and where they're moving. Like a few months ago, it was short-term rentals. Now the trend is midterm rentals. And so I think when, especially when you're newer, because this, I mean, it happened to me too. I was like, oh, like I have to get into short-term rentals now because everyone else is doing it, so it must be a good time. And it's like, oh, I have to get into the Smokies, or I have to get into Florida, or I have to get into PCB, or into Joshua Tree. So don't like try not to get swept up in like what everybody else is doing. I think you can definitely look at it where it's like obviously it's working for them, but at the same time, don't feel like you have to copy exactly what other investors are doing because everyone's circumstances are different and goals are different. Um, so I think that's one. And then two, I think we already talked about this a little bit, but always have an exit strategy. Like I said, especially with short-term rentals, like unless you're going into, I've already said this, I'm repeating myself, but unless you go into PCB where it is like the holy grail of their economy and they're never going to outlaw short-term rentals, you never want to go into a market with that being the only strategy that will work for you. Because if somehow or some way someone comes in and they're like, okay, we're gonna do this, this, and this, and all of a sudden your short-term rental is not going to be profitable anymore, or there's going to be a lottery system or something like that. You don't want to be stuck with a property that does not work as a long-term rental or does not work as a midterm rental, and then you have to sell, and then you probably sell at a loss. So always have an exit strategy. And you said this as well, but I think a long-term rental is just the most straightforward. There's always going to be a demand for a long-term rental. So I think make sure it can work as a long-term rental as well if you're going to do another little like niche strategy.
That's awesome. And real quick for the four people that are on there, Mel and I host a meetup. It's called Ales and Assets, and it's at Duckfoot Brewing in Vista or Miramar. Miramar. In case you're in the area and you want to come out one time, we'd love to see you and introduce yourselves and talk real estate. Be amazing. Be amazing.
Yeah, if you're in San Diego, and we usually have meetups on the third Sunday of every month. So if you're in San Diego, come on out and have a beer with us.
Yes. So, and just so you know, we do have guest speakers that actually come and talk about stuff, but like for November and December, we're keeping it a little bit more casual because it's the holiday time and just want to get together with like-minded, motivated individuals and talk real estate and see how we could all be successful together.
Yeah. Does anyone else have, I still can't scroll on this, so I don't know what's happening, but does anyone have questions? Or anything?
I got a question. I'll ask you a question because I'm curious. Like, I know that you started out by reading books and stuff, but like, do you have a mentor that sort of helps you like with your real estate investing or somebody that you sort of look up to, just in general, like for the real estate game?
I don't. I've never, yeah, no, I haven't had a mentor or anyone. It's just been me, myself, and I. Um, but I mean, I think just even being active on Instagram, and engaging with people's content, and I've DM'd a bunch of people over the past year, just asking questions or this and that or whatever. So I don't think, I mean, obviously it's helpful to have a mentor, but there's so much knowledge and knowledge that people are willing to share. on Instagram or in Facebook groups or in the Bigger Pockets forums. So definitely utilize those for sure. If you're kind of not sure where to go or what to do next.
Berminator, come out to the meetup in December then if you're going to be out here, man. Come on
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you out there, bro.
Yeah. We're
I'd
doing
love to see you.
ugly holiday sweater theme too in December. So
It'll be
that,
amazing.
yeah, if you'll be out here.
Yeah, I asked that because it's funny. I do I do a lot of cold calling and
Mm.
stuff for properties, off market properties. And it was funny because I don't know if I told you this story or not, but I was calling around Imperial Beach because that's sort of where I want to pick up my next primary at. And I ran into this guy. And it was funny. He let me oh hey who's this right here? Hold on. Oh man, I'm bad at the scrolling too. No. What does Javelin say? Could use some advice. I have some time to either get a second job to pay off debt, save for a property faster, or bring value to a mentor slash help people in the industry I want to be in and want to learn. Are you asking which one you should do, or what are you exactly asking?
I think, yeah, like what we would do if we were in that position. I pay off again, yeah, I cannot scroll, so this is like fading away. Pay off debt, save for money. I would try to pay down your debt as much as you can. Um, personally, because I know, like when you go to qualify for loans or whatever, like a big part of what they look at too is your debt to income ratio. Um, and then it has to be, what is it, like 40% ish, I think is the general consensus for most lenders. So that's like student loans, that's a car loan. Um, what other loans are there out there? Those are the two biggest ones. So I would try to pay those down as much as you can because I think you can get better rates, right?
Would
Depending on your
Yeah.
guy is.
Well, that was good, but here's what I would do. I would learn as you earn. So basically, like, yeah, absolutely start trying to like save up some cash, pay down some of the debt, but do that as maybe as you're working for somebody else too. Like that is so like key for me. Like if I could do that and if I found somebody that I could work for and learn and earn, that would be the best of both worlds because you're going to sort of grow a lot faster being surrounded by that and doing that daily. You're going to just like 10 times your knowledge, your experience and everything. And if you're doing that consecutively, like for 6 months, imagine where you're going to be at the end of 6 months, and who knows what you encounter. Maybe you find an off-market deal, maybe you find a creative deal or something, and somebody's willing to do a seller-backed financing or a subject to or something like that for you. So you never know, like that. But that's what I would probably shoot for. So, anyways, but
The connections you can make from that too. If you are, yeah, working in some sort of like a real estate investing capacity, the people you can meet along the way um, can be beneficial too.
yeah, right. So, yeah, but it's funny because I was saying I was calling around like the Imperial Beach area, and it's because I would love to meet somebody locally that I could just sort of bounce ideas off of that have done something, that I want to do, right? So, I called this guy out of the blue. His name was Kelly Jacobson, right? And I have him saved in my phone. But it was funny the way he answered the phone. It was like he took the time for me to bring up the property that I was calling on because he called me back and I had no information in front of me, just his phone number, and I'm sort of stumbling on the phone and he's like, "Yeah, hey, I got a call from this number." I'm like, "Oh, hey, it was probably on one of your properties I was calling on," and he's like, "Which one?" And I'm like, "Oh, well, you sort of got me off guard here. Let me look that address up." So I look his information up and I go ahead and tell him, and I'm thinking it's going to be the same thing. No, I'm not selling, whatever. Okay, cool, thanks, kind of type of deal. And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "Why would you want to do that?" And I'm like, what? What? Why would I want to do that? I'm like, I'm looking to pick up a property for myself. He's like, yeah, I know. But don't you know, like the market's going crazy. Interest rates are up. Why would you even do that? You're not even going to be able to afford the house payment. I'm like, well, that's why I'm calling you on a multifamily, because I wanted to house hack this and I wanted to sort of, do this. He's like, well, still, you're not going to do this and you're not going to do that. And then he starts rattling off percentages to me and I start giving him numbers back. And, at first I was taken aback and I was like a little bit like in the shock and awe, like, oh shit, crapping my pants and stuff, a little bit. But as the more we talked, the more I learned two things. One, I held my own against the guy who knew his shit, right? Which made me feel really good. And three was, I found out he owns like 35 units in San Diego, and he owns 6 of them in Imperial Beach, and he got them on a creative deal from an older lady. And so as soon as I got to that information, I was just like, Kelly, let's not talk about me buying your property anymore. I just want to know, what do I have to do to take you to lunch? And he's like, I don't eat lunch. And I'm like, okay, what about breakfast? He's like, he starts saying something, and then he tells me, hey, supper's on the table. I gotta go. And I'm like, hey, Kelly, hold on. Let me ask you one more question. He's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm like, can I call you again? He's like, well, I may or may not answer. And I'm like, that's all I need. I'm going to go ahead and gamble on it. I'm going to give you a call again. And I go, if you don't answer, that's fine. I'll just keep calling until you do, man. It's all good. I just want to talk to him now, right? I just want to sort of become friends and sort of figure out how he did 35 units in San Diego, And so I rushed home that night, and I sat at my desk and I wrote him a handwritten card and I mailed it out to him.
Nice.
A little classy touch,
I love that.
Yeah. But I want to sort of get to know this guy, right? Like, he's somebody that is already doing what I want to do. He owns 6 properties in the area where I want to live in. I mean, and I looked his primary house up, because I had his home address, right? His mailing address. Mm-hmm. So I looked his primary house up, and dude, this is the thing that gets me. You're never going to know if you're sitting next to a millionaire or not, because millionaires never flaunt their shit. And he lived in an average looking house. He had like a camper van in front of it. He had like a couple like old janky cars. Like there was no Lambos, no Porsches. It wasn't like he was living in La Jolla, He was just living an average lifestyle, but the guy's got savings and cash. He's not hurting anything,
Yeah. And that's like one of the most, like, the wildest things that I've picked up on since last year is like the people that are so successful are so modest. So modest. And they don't have flashy things or flashy cars or flashy houses. Like, they're just going about their business.
Exactly. And it's funny, because that's another thing I want to say. Like, one thing I learned is, and everybody says it, but it really, I think, takes a little bit of a shift in the mindset, is talk about that daily. Talk about that wherever you are. You're out having a beer with your friends and you want to strike up a conversation with a stranger. Tell them that you're into real estate. Tell them that, hey, I'm looking to pick up a property. I'm looking for some funding. I'm looking for somebody who has capital to come in and maybe partner up and stuff like that, because you never know where that conversation might lead to. You never know if that person would be like, well, hey, I got some money. I've always been interested in real estate. And it's something that I'm constantly striving to do now. Like, I don't know about you, Mel, but like, I try it. Like, everywhere I go, I look around, and I'm a friendly guy. I like to strike up conversations wherever I go. I think you know that, Mel. And so like, I am now putting myself out there and just saying, hey, these are things that I'm looking for and things that I'm trying to do. And if somebody can help me, great. I'm usually the type of guy that wants to try to do everything on his own. And I quickly learned that you cannot do that on your own. You have to have help. You have to have friends. And I'm glad I have friends like Berminator, because I'm going to hit him up for a big loan.
But no, I'm just...
Exactly. That's how you met me at VPCon, bro. Exactly. Striking up conversations, brother. But
I'm very much like independent. I want to do it on myself. But yeah, I'm still in the phase where I'm trying to get to the needing to talk about it more. That's what I'm starting to post more on Instagram too. needing to talk about it more, and just even, yeah, even in your circle, and like especially if you're trying to get started too, like there's so many people that either one have equity in, like older people that have equity in their homes that they just don't even really ever think about, or people that are maybe higher income earners that don't really know what to do with their money, and it's just sitting in the savings account, either losing money or not making hardly any money. So I think, yeah, definitely talking about it, yeah, in a good, humble, like modest way, like talking about what you're doing, um, is important.
Right. And Berminator says, as soon as I'm the bank, I got you. Like, dude, that's my end game, bro. Like, I want to become the bank. Like, I like everybody thinks real. Like, here it is. Real estate investing is not passive. Mel does not make passive income. I do not make passive income on my real estate. And the reason why, because we have to work on it. You have to get tenants. You have to do stuff still. It's not like you're just sitting back and you're getting what they call mailbox money, right? Like becoming the bank is the ultimate thing because that's when you really have passive income.
That's,
You're
yeah.
right. Like you're getting that mailbox money. You're just sitting in your lazy boy chair. You got your beer. You're watching the sun go up and come down, and money's just coming in the mailbox. You know.
Yep. That's the goal.
And stuff. So I mean, that's the name of the game. That's where you want to get to, you know. So, but yeah, it's funny. Like, I think somebody said, "Yep, I'm going to start doing that," or "I need to start doing that." Like, dude, it was the biggest. Like, for me personally, like, I never came from anywhere that taught. Like, here's the funny part: I never came from anyone that talked about finances or money, and so I always felt weird about talking about money until about maybe last year, where I just figured, like, no, I'm surrounding myself with people who think differently and think like me, and you have to talk about money because that's the only way you're going to level up, you know. Like, I love the people who are like, I'll show you what's in my bank account. Dude, what? Like me, I'm like, oh no, you can't see it, you can't know. But now I'm like, fuck yeah, man, I've got 2 pennies sitting in there. Let's do something so I can change that shit, you know.
Yeah. That's even, yeah, even just when you said that, like, let me look in your bank account, that's like automatically like, don't talk about that. But like,
Right. You
that's,
know, yeah, it's crazy. And so anyways, but it's just like they say real estate's a lot of educating and learning and going out and experiencing, but a lot of it too is just changing the way you look at things, because the moment you do that, dude, the moment you switch that little switch on your mind and you look at things differently, oh my God, you're gonna take off to the next level. You're gonna start getting out of your way and start moving forward and progressing forward.
it's like in like the least guru way possible, because that's cringy. It's like an obsession. Like the second after I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I was like, what am I doing with my life?
Yes.
Like, I'm just gonna get promotions and do this and that, which is totally like, which I don't mean like don't keep your W-2 job, because that's, I think, also really important. Um, but like, I'm not gonna sit and do this until I'm 65 years old
Yeah, me neither.
or 70, because I probably won't have enough savings by then. So here we
No,
are.
me neither. Me neither. Well, hey, you got anything you want to say to anybody? I have an 8 and a 6-year-old. I always discuss, dude. You know what, Berminator? I'm very honest with my kids as well, but I didn't really start talking money with them until probably about 3 years ago, when I started really thinking about how I need to switch my mindset up, bro. And I wanted to be a good role model for them. And I feel like I am, because they're seeing everything I'm doing. They're seeing me cold call. They're seeing me freaking, buy things or look for things. All the hard work I've been putting into the real estate game, starting a meetup with Mel, like just trying to get out there and do my thing. And it's not an overnight success. This is not, hey, I'm going to be rich and own a shitload of real estate in 3 months, I mean, I'm looking at like what it's going to be like in the next, 4 years, where I'm going to be at in 5 years down my journey, or 6 years down my journey. So, I mean, it is a little bit of a pace, like, what do they call that? Like a long distance run. But yeah, man, like, I just want them to see like this is possible, and this is where they should be putting their time and energy and focus at. So yeah, bro, I'm glad you're talking to your kids about it, dude. Hell yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah. Any other questions? I can't see any new comments a half hour ago.
Yeah.
But any other? questions, comments?
Gotta stop. I haven't ate 60 hours discussed money with them. Very true. Exactly why I hold back. REI perspective. Yeah, man. That's why I hold. That's held me back a lot too. Just that mindset. Just that mindset. I appreciate both of you, your time and knowledge you're sharing, and can't wait to meet in person. I got to drop off, but I'm. Oh, that was cool. Javelin said that. I'm gonna follow. If I don't follow her, I'm gonna follow her. But yeah. So, anyways, Mel, you got anything else you want to add? I know I've been keeping you on here for almost like an hour now. This has been a good first live. I like this live.
This cool. Yeah, I've never gone on Instagram Live before, so this is wild. But no, I think just keep at it. Have a plan, and if you're into San Diego, come to our meetup
Yeah.
and come hang out with us.
Yes. I would love to meet all of you guys.
Yeah.
Berminator, December 4th, bro. It's December 4th is the ugly sweater one. And November 20th, if you decide to come out earlier for the November meetup right before Thanksgiving. You got a question? Okay. Yeah, what question? You got a question? Or you want it? I don't know if he's got a question or not. Loved it. Question. I heard Lance had a podcast. Ah, dude. Did Mel unfreeze herself? Did Mel eject again? I'm just gonna put Mel in real quick before she goes. No, cancel that. Mel invest. I don't know if Mel's in here or not. I don't. Anyways, no, I did, dude. That is my question. That is a good question, bro. And I do, and you're definitely coming out on it, dude. It's just taken me a minute. It's just taken me a minute to get that going. Is she back? Okay, there she is. Jeez. Yeah, it's just taken me a minute to get that podcast going, man. I stopped because I was all like trying to learn a bunch of stuff, and yeah, it's coming, bro. I promise. Now that I'm creating more content and trying to get out there, I already got 5 podcasts in the queue already, bro. So
Wait, you're podcast?
Yeah. I've done 5 podcasts on real estate. Like I've interviewed other real estate investors and sort of asked about their journey and stuff. I just haven't released it yet because I don't know. I mindset thing again, like not thinking that I was able to release this shit yet. But now that I'm out here forcing myself to get in front of the camera and to set out more content and stuff, like
do it.
I'm gonna release that out. But yeah, it's funny. I'm not very good at like social media. I have a problem with it. So I'm trying to like be more out there. And that's why I post nothing but videos, because I feel like the more I can post videos of myself talking about certain topics that, I find interesting, like I'll just get over that kind of bullshit fear or doubt, I guess you can
That's so funny you say that, because I look at you and I'm like, oh, he's such a good public speaker. And I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm not speaking in front of a camera.
No, I've got a bad case of imposter syndrome. Like, okay. I really do. Even though, like, I know what I'm talking about, I just feel like maybe because I haven't been doing it for 10 years, or maybe because I'm not up to, like, the Pace Morby status or the Jamil Damji or
who is?
Like, Beardy Brandon, dude,
1%.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not shy, dude. I'm just that damn imposter syndrome, man. It gets the best of me sometimes, and I gotta check that shit, bro.
Yeah.
Mom is way and stuff. So, yeah, man. And I missed you at BPCon, bro. Berminator, missed you at the BPCon, bro. So we'll have to get together.
Where is Berminator from?
Berminator's from Colorado. He's an investor out in Colorado, and his name is Adrian, and we met at BPCon in New Orleans.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and stuff. So he's one of the ones I keep in contact with.
Cool.
Yeah, but anyways, hey, this has been fun. I don't know. I know you didn't. Hey, how do I save this? Can I save this? Does it go, like, can I download this? Like, how does this work?
I don't know. What is this? Do you have this little like recording button on your screen? does that
No,
do?
I don't know. I don't have anything.
I'm
Like,
just this. What does that do? Oh, never mind. That's oh my God, I'm a boomer. Um, I don't know. I think you kind of have to have maybe like a unless you do like a screen record. I feel like people have like third party apps or something that like record this shit because
does any of the 4 people on here know if we can save this? Like, how does this work?
I
Anybody
need
knows?
to read it. Hold on.
Save these lives? I have no idea. Oh yeah, screen record. I don't know how to like how do you screen
Oh,
record?
you know that if you swipe down like I don't even know what it's called, like the top right corner, if you just
Larry will fit. Larry, what's up, dude?
have an
Yeah,
iPhone, right?
Larry's on here. Dude, I don't know how to save this. Oh, look, we're getting more people as we're winding up right now.
Hello. Ah,
Oh,
man,
Instagram
I
will
forgot
give
to
you the
have
option to save. Oh, okay,
evil.
cool. Thank you, REI Perspective, or it goes to archives. Okay, cool. I'm gonna have to check that out because I definitely want to save this. Like I want to save this for sure. Like this is
Yeah, I
awesome.
took a screenshot, but I don't know how the hell
What's
to do
up,
this.
Larry? How you doing, man? We're just ending this live, bro. It was really good short-term rental live with the queen of short-term rentals of Arkansas, Mel Invest.
Oh yeah. Uh,
Okay.
Emily,
Oh,
Emily
hey,
Jenkins? That's my friend.
she says she'll watch it in the archive, so maybe it does go in the archive.
Okay,
That's awesome. Okay.
love that.
So anything you want to say before we end this thing?
I don't think so. I think I'm said my piece. Is that
All
the
right.
said my piece?
All right. Dude, that's awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate all of you guys that watched this and came on. This was awesome.
This
This
is
was
more than I thought would come, so I'm thrilled.
I thought it would just be me and you in there.
Talking together. Yeah.
Just talking to ourselves.
LOL. Should we do it regularly? Should we do it like once a week or every other week?
I don't know. Mel's liking the lives.
We're getting spicy over here.
Mel's like, I love these lives. Let's do it. Who wants a daily
First,
live?
I'm ready for more.
The more wine goes down, the more Mel wants to come on
I
the
haven't even
camera.
finished my first glass yet. We should go.
That's awesome. Well, we'll talk. We should do a little live from the meetups so people can check out the meetups.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I've been wanting to do something. I've been wanting to do something discussing. Well, dude, Berminator, bring it on, bro. Let's do something, man. Or unless you just want to do some insurance claims and how to navigate them for. Oh, dude, let's do that, bro. We'll do that because that's an interesting topic. Insurance claims and how to navigate them. I got one more question for you before we end this thing because I'm curious about this. All right, are you ready for this? What is one of the benefits that you like the most about real estate investing? What was one of the things? Yeah,
Benefits?
yeah.
I mean, obviously I know there's tax benefits. But I mean benefits.
Like depreciation? Was it just like the tax benefits? Was it that you get to have a vacation house somewhere that you wanted to always go to? Like what?
I mean,
Like
for me, I think it's just more long term. Like this is my way out of not having to work for the rest
okay,
at a
got
time.
it.
I think this is the most tested path to get there.
Nice.
And I just really enjoy it too. Like I don't this doesn't feel like I'm not like, oh, I have to go work on this or do this, whatever real estate related. Like I also just genuinely enjoy doing it. So yeah, I think it's more long term.
That's cool.
Yeah. How about you?
Oh, well, if anybody follows my TikTok account, they already know. I wanted to fuck the government. I want to fuck the government so bad. I'm tired of them always taxing my ass. I want to fucking tax their ass.
Tell them.
No, but just like, I want to create something for the grandkids too, the kids or the grandkids or whatever happens. That's yeah. And not having to worry about money. That's the one I love.
That's That'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome too. Financial independence and create wealth. Hell yeah, Larry. Hell yeah. Beacon Leaf Home Solutions Company, baby. Love it, Larry. Hey. All right, Mel. Well, hey, hopefully this saves because I'd love for it to save. So,
I guess we'll find out. I did take
dude,
one screenshot so we can document this if it doesn't save, but just one.
I love the FU money too. All right, I got to get going. So, hey, it's good doing this live with you.
All right. See you on the 20th, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Anybody in San Diego? Come on out. The 20th, Duckfoot Brewing.
All right. Bye.
Later.